Welcome and thank you for joining our ScotiaLIVE webinar. My name is Talia Suarez and today I'm here with the Scotiabank team as we share best practices to protect you from fraud. Now, fraud is a growing concern in society, from phishing scams to identity theft, and currently cyber criminals will do just about anything to continuously seek to exploit vulnerabilities and deceive unsuspecting individuals. The good news is, with sufficient information and knowledge, and of course with the right strategies, you can protect yourself from these threats. So today we're going to be sharing lots of information that will help to ensure your safety. We will be discussing common scams, emerging threats, and the proactive measures you can take to safeguard your information, your finances, and of course, your peace of mind. Now, today's session is on Zoom, as well as we're live on our Instagram page at Scotiabank Jam. So please feel free to send in those questions. And I want to especially thank you guys so much for joining us today. So our conversation today is titled, Stay Safe, Stay Connected, Protect Yourself from Fraud. And I have some expert panelists here with me this evening. I'm talking about Christopher Samuels, the branch manager, Javan Simpson, Senior Manager for Investigations, Warren Williams, Digital Forensic Specialist, and Stacey-Ann Henlin, a Supervisor for Inquiries, Customer Experience right here in Jamaica. Welcome, gentlemen and lady.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. So we have lots to share on topic, and we will be sharing lots of insightful information. Of course, I did say if you have those questions, please feel free to send them in, and we will try our best to address all of them. So let's begin with Javan Simpson, our Senior Manager for Investigations, who will be talking a little bit about, or giving us an overview about the most common sources of fraud. So Javan, what are some of the common sources of scams, and how can we protect ourselves from them?
So the common scams that we're seeing nowadays are rent-related. We're looking at things like retail scams, romance, employment scams, and one that is emerging and taking a lot of traction is the mule account, or what they call account loading. And for an overall way of protecting yourself, we say that if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. So be vigilant, be skeptic. Because in fraud, there are three things that are required. There is the motivation and the rationalization by the fraudster, and there is the opportunity. So they arm themselves with the motivation and the rationalization, and they're looking for somewhere to make it happen.
Okay.
So on the part of the customer or the would-be victim is to make yourself a less attractive target.
Oh, wow. So walk us through the different scams, because you did touch on a few of them, the romance scam, the employment scams, the mule as well. So just elaborate a little bit more about what each really is.
All right, so the romance scams, it is somebody being your perfect person. Somebody appears somewhere on social media and I am the one for you. I am what you've been looking for.
Javan is talking about the Tinder swindler. Ladies and gentlemen, my viewers, I'm sure you are quite familiar with that show. It was the talk of the town, the Tinder swindler. This is actually happening in real life.
It's actually happening, and there was a case recently that was very prominent in Jamaica. So what they do is they appeal to people's wants, their needs, their desires, and they get them to pay for stuff in the name of love. But that
by
love...
helping out, quote unquote, by just helping out this person to show them that through thick and thin, I will be there for you.
Yes, but thin comes quicker than thick.
Okay. Okay.
The employment scam is another one where people post jobs or they have a job agency. You would pay down for a job opportunity. You pay all these fees with the hopes of getting a job, but it doesn't happen.
Okay.
So what in each case you see is that they appeal to a desire, a need. Another one is the mule account, or the account loading. This one is getting pretty popular.
Okay.
They advertise, mostly on social media, to say, get your accounts loaded. And you volunteer your account to be a mule or a carrier for fraudulent funds. But it leaves you holding the bag, and an empty bag at that, because your account more than likely will be closed.
Okay.
Because it would have been a carrier for fraudulent funds.
Okay. Warren, I know you're familiar with a few of these scams as well. I know that Javan touched on a few of them, but are there any additional scams that our audience and our viewers should actually be aware of?
I'd like to add phishing to that list that Javon has mentioned. And when I talk about phishing, you know, the regular phishing, you throw out a bait and someone, the fish bites at the bait and of course get caught. So in the digital world, it's a similar phenomenon whereby, you know, things are thrown out in the digital space, you know, maybe telling you that you have won something or telling you that you can, you know, be the beneficiary of something. And generally, persons tend to bite at these bait and, of course, get caught. And the scammer will, you know, get that information or whatever he desires once you bite that bait. There are variants of phishing, and we talk about spear phishing. You may be you know, a banker, which is a manager, or someone in a position, a high-ranking position. Criminals and scammers will target you because they think you have a lot of money and they will do things to scam you. Of course, there are other variants. We speak about vision, and it's a common thing for, you know, for you to get voice notes. Maybe telling you also that, you know, something good to be true, and you tend to, you know, volunteer your personal and sensitive information because of that voice note. They use other types of phishing like smishing. So we get texts, you know, we are common users of WhatsApp, so we get a lot of text messages, and of course a lot of promotions from the banking sector, the financial sector, you name it. And of course, it may requires for you to do something and expose yourself unnecessarily, and you become a victim. So those are variants that is quite prominent that is happening in the sector, which can be added to the list.
You mentioned the digital space. What about fake websites?
Fake website is very prominent now because persons who are trained with certain skill sets, you know, like myself is a certified ethical hacker. I can create a website that looks.
That so?
It is so. It is so. But I don't want people to get scared. I'm ethical, not unethical. So I do ethical things to assist in doing forensic examination.
Okay.
So of course, it's easy to create a website looking like a BNS. And of course, people will say, okay, yeah, I know if it has a padlock or it is HTTPS, then it's secure.
Yeah.
But I can create a website looking just like that.
With
right?
with a similar look and feel,
Exactly.
with your logos,
Exactly.
you name it, they will pull it just to attract you.
Just to attract you.
So what are some of the tips then and strategies you would share to customers when they bring these kind of issues to you?
Well, personally, I like to use the term, do not trust, always verify. We're in a digital space where it's easy to, you know, mimic or put something that is false and fake and it's not authentic. So it's for you to be educated on programs like these, so you know the do's and the don'ts, such that once you're more educated, then you know what to look for.
Okay.
So some of these steps is that to keep abreast with what is going on, like a ScotiaLIVE or any other type of forums that, you know, promote safety and security online.
So just to be vigilant, that's the first thing, and just to be cautious of everything that could possibly happen, could possibly incite you into danger.
Do not trust, always verify.
Do not trust, always verify. You mentioned the emails with the links. What about clicking on those links?
Very good. So we tend to, in the world that we now live in, and we speak about WhatsApp and email, we communicate a lot by WhatsApp and email and attachments. And it's very easy for scammers and criminals to send an attachment which has a malicious code. A malicious code can do a lot of things. It can turn on your webcam. It can have a keylogger to capture your username and password. It can listen to your conversation. So we have to be very careful, have the necessary tools and on your sets. And of course, it's not everything that is attached and sent to you, you should click and download. of course, you have to have on your system the right virus protection and
Yes.
firewalls and such things like that.
Another thing that I know my viewers are probably questioning is the importance of the password.
Right.
How strong it is, how long it is, the characters,
Yes,
you
yes,
know,
yes,
how,
yes.
how close it actually is to me. And
Yes.
then I can speak for a lot of my viewers that sometimes when we make these fancy passwords,
Right.
we forget them ourselves.
As
How do we manage that? Is it even important to have a strong password?
it's very, very important in this day and age. I always say make it strong, make it long. And of course, we have different, things that we have to use password nowadays. And it's very difficult for persons to remember all of that. We say do not reuse the same password for everything. It means if I get into one, I get into all of your stuff. So we would prefer for you to use phrases that I love Johnny, or Johnny's my favorite guy, things like those.
Okay.
You know, or further, I would say use patois, because no Jamaicans, spell patois in different ways.
Yes.
So make it difficult for the scammer and for the persons who has a criminal intent.
Okay. How is it that persons can grab information from a shared space or a shared network? Because I do realize that, especially now, a lot of places are offering free Wi-Fi and you can just connect if you go to the park or if you go to a nice central area. And I mean, free Wi-Fi is quite attractive, I must say. So how do we balance that?
I like how you ask this question. My grandmother used to tell me nothing free is good. So we have to be careful of the freeness,
Okay.
because it can be unsecure.
You'll pay in the long run for it.
Exactly, unsecure, that it's not safe. It means that it's easy for a hacker or someone who has criminal intent to get into this space. How do you know on set now that I do not have a free Wi-Fi to know all the persons that are logged on, and of course see what you're doing, what you're chatting, all of that? That's the risk that you run.
Yes.
So it's important for you to be careful when you get into that space, and it's good that we can give free access to that type of communication, but you must be wary that it is risky, and do not put your personal and sensitive information in that space.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be checking my account in that space.
Okay.
My bank account, and
Yes.
do paying my bills online and stuff like that. Wait until you get in a more secured environment where you can do such transactions.
Okay, understood, Warren. Now, Stacey, let me come to you, because sometimes customers, I know Warren touched on it, where we can possibly create a website or even an email that looks just like it's coming from Scotiabank, and sometimes customers will find it difficult to differentiate or to actually tell whether or not it is legitimate. How do we manage that? How do we balance that? How can we even tell whether or not it's coming from Scotia?
Definitely. So the first thing to do is to be aware. So don't be afraid, just be in the know. There are some things that you should look out for. So look out for grammar, incorrect spelling, especially in the URL. So for example, if you see an email coming to you that says www.scotiabank and the B in the middle is a capital, then red flag, that's probably not Scotiabank.
Or Scotia B Bank
Or Scotia
at
B Bank.
gmail.com.
Exactly. Look out for other things, especially when the email is asking you or the site is asking you to quickly do something. There's an inherent urgency that's there, and if you don't do it now, something else will happen to you. Take your time. If you're unsure, the best thing to do is to call Scotiabank, and we'll be happy to confirm with you if it's secured or not.
Have you had any instances where this has happened
Yes.
to your customers?
Unfortunately. So we had a customer, a pensioner actually, who received an email, Mr. So-and-so, you need to click on this link because your password will expire for online banking. Now, the customer had a gut feeling, but he didn't follow on the gut feeling. So unfortunately, he clicked on this link. And unfortunately, his funds, and we're talking about US thousands of dollars, was taken by fraudsters. We were able to recover, but just imagine being a pensioner, You're supposed to be now worrying about which cruise I'm going to go on, not about who is taking out my
Yes.
money.
Yeah.
So things like hovering over the link, which will show you the URL, which will show you if it's coming from the bank or not.
And I sorry to interrupt Stacey, but when Stacey says hovering over, she's actually saying don't click on it, just move your mouse, move your finger, you know, with your mouse just over the link to see what actually pops up, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Look out for spelling. And additionally, look if the email is personalized to you. So if it says dear valued customer, red flag. Look for things that say dear Talia, you know, we welcome you to so and so. And remember that Scotiabank never asks you to submit your personal details through any link.
Ah, never, ever, ever. So that's a good point to stick there, Stacey. So we're talking about not oversharing too much, be extremely vigilant, know what is actually happening. Never overshare on social media.
That's correct.
Never do that as well. And I'm sure that persons do try to impersonate bank employees, but just to be mindful as to how personal these conversations can get. Chris, though, hi, Chris. I haven't joined you as yet, but
Yes.
would you like to share anything from a branch perspective?
Well, thank you for having me.
No problem.
I'm
Thank you
excited
for
to be
coming.
here. For me, from a branch bank perspective, Warren says it best. Be vigilant. That is key. And being vigilant means monitoring your account on a daily basis, weekly. You know the frequency that satisfies you. Your savings account and your credit card, we have seen, are the two types of accounts that get attacked more frequently, so monitor them. Have frequent conversations with your co-depositor or the person who you have joint credit card with, and ensure that your transactions are verified and they're
So
authentic.
cross-check with each other
Yes,
if
you
it
do
is
that.
that you're not the only one who has access to that bank account. Okay.
Absolutely. And if you see something that seems a little odd, reach out to your bank. Reach out to your banker to say, hey, these transactions seem a little odd. Investigate them for me.
Okay.
We're also saying, get familiar with our online and mobile services. Did you know that we have alerts that can be customized to every single customer's needs? That can tell you your balance on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. It can notify you of your transactions that would have been done. You're traveling, you get to get alerts about transactions done overseas, cross-border transactions. So the alerts is an excellent way to mitigate fraud, and we encourage our customers to set it up. If you're having difficulty, reach out to your banker, reach out to your branch, reach out to our contact center. We'll be more than happy to assist you. But we're saying to our customers, be vigilant at this time.
Be vigilant and also turn on those alerts.
Yes.
And you can get an alert for just about anything and everything.
That's the beautiful thing about it. It can be customized to every customer's needs. So what works for me may not work for you. So we are saying we haven't set the thing in such a way that it is for every customer this way.
Okay.
Every customer can go in and set it up the way they want it. If you need help, we'll be more than happy to help you to set it up.
Awesome. So if I need an alert for a transaction, if I need an alert for payments,
yes.
What else do you have?
For balance on your account, if you want an alert for transactions that are done outside of the country, there's a whole gamut of it.
I mean, I should actually tell you though, Chris, I love the Scotia app because I have all my alerts on, and if it is that I'm even trying to add someone, to send them something, even if it's $100 or $500, as long as I'm trying to add a recipient, I get an alert for that as well.
I tell you, you get an alert if somebody tries to change your password.
Yes.
It is as important as that.
Yes.
So it is absolutely fabulous.
And audience, my viewers, I don't want you to think that we're trying to annoy you, but we just want you to know what's actually going on.
Yes.
Because sometimes I get the alert and I say, okay, all right, I added the person, okay, I sent it, okay, all right, so this is my balance now, all right. So I literally keep track every single step of the way. Now, Chris touched on passwords, and we mentioned the importance of having a strong password. So, Javan, how do we set up a strong password? What would you recommend?
So, as you said, Chris and Warren touched on it, but uppercase, lowercase letters, numerals, special characters. Warren said it long is strong. But things like passcodes, phrases. So my favorite drink is ginger beer.
Okay.
It takes a longer time for a fraudster to get that or to guess that. Never use the same passwords for different apps. You wouldn't want to be in a case where one password becomes compromised and they have access to your entire life. And two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication is recommended. It adds another layer or another set of layers to ensure that if somebody who should not have access has tried, they will have more to face and more to deal with.
Okay. Okay, and when we speak of two-factor authentication, we're talking about just in case you're trying to do something, it's a backup. So I get a code somewhere else, or I need
Personalized question.
a personalized question as well on another platform. So it won't be right there and then. I either have to go check my email, I have to get a text message, that kind of thing.
Right.
What about, because I love the app. I'm a big fan of the app. So what about this whole biometric, am I saying it right? Yes, yeah, with your biometric details, either fingerprint or the facial recognition, is that something that assists to mitigate these instances?
Right. Well, you know, the more, as Javon says, the more layer of security it means, it's the more difficult for someone to scam or to get into your account.
Okay.
So using facial recognition or bioprint is always good in addition to security questions.
Okay.
All of these are good layers of security, and that's what BNS has applied. And of course, you know, customers and clients can be reassured that it's not so easy for someone to get into an account.
In your account.
Right.
So we've been talking about online fraud a lot, and recently I have a friend of mine who logged in and saw some transaction on her credit card saying, you know, she bought some electronic wires, right? You know, when something from the hardware store come up on my credit card, you know, so that is not true. And I also had a similar experience a few months ago where I saw a guest house come up on the western side of the island. Then I saw that I bought some JetBlue tickets, and I was planning a trip, a vacation that I was not a part of, unfortunately. So Stacey, let's now speak, or should I say, let me start with Javon first. Let's speak about debit and credit card fraud. Let's speak a little bit about that.
All right, so these types of frauds happen when your card details get into the hands of someone who shouldn't have it, and they are unauthorized transactions. That is the basic of it. It happens in multiple ways. Sometimes people inadvertently give out that information because there is what we call friendly fraud or familiar fraud,
Okay.
where you ask somebody to go and pull some money from the ABM for you, and they get a hold of the card afterwards and they go and use it again. So that in itself is unauthorized and it's actually considered fraud. It could be that it is captured somewhere and used afterwards, whether physically or online. And how you protect against this is to know what your patterns are, be able to identify it quickly. We've been saying it all evening, the app. It gives you that history, your bank statements.
Okay.
You can use all of those to look for what is not the norm, detect it quickly and fix it.
Do we see a lot of instances where persons are actually using even like card reading devices and that kind of thing?
Yes, sadly, yes.
And like hidden cameras and that kind of thing to just kind of swipe or steal information quickly?
It is on the decline, but it still happens somewhat.
Okay.
Our new EMV chip cards are protecting against that very well, but it is not gone totally. We're working to get it out of there, but there are still remnants of it.
And I see Warren wants to jump in. I see you're eagerly waiting to jump in.
Yeah. I like how Javan says the chip is now here as another layer of security. But he's correct. I mean, in the sense that we have what we call skimmers. So skimming machines can be at different point of sales, persons who's working with the criminal underworld. So I think Chris would have mentioned that, listen, once you go to do a transaction, never let your card get out of your sight, because it means that the criminal will now slip at the gas station and say, hold on, let me go inside and swipe. It's going to be swiped on that criminal skimmer. So it is not gone totally. I would mention a certain country, and there are certain cases where it comes into the country somehow and has been distributed, and persons have been caught and have been successfully convicted because of that.
Right.
But this is a day and age where persons just get things come right to their doorstep, right? So anything can be shipped into the country and to do all kind of nefarious activity. So we have to be wary of that it's not all gone. But I mean, the bank is moving assiduously to secure customers by putting different layers of security,
in place. So, I mean, the bottom line is fraud can really take place anywhere. It's just important to be vigilant, be mindful, and of course, track your information, track your accounts. So, Stacey, besides from stealing information or stealing your card information, are there any other reasons as to why a customer may be compromised?
Yes. So it's certain behaviors that we take for granted. So we save our PIN, we save our date of birth on a slip of paper with the debit card in the pouch. And when we lose that pouch, somebody has access. And we've seen many cases of that, right, Javon? Additionally, we have what's called domestic fraud, and Chris will back me up with this one, where it's someone in your house, in your circle, that has access to your card information, your account details, and they're the ones that are actually doing unscrupulous activities.
Oh, wow.
So be very careful. Yes, you have your daughter, your sister, your brother, your friend. Even if you lend them, just be very mindful of who you give your information
They
to.
might want a little more. They might say, okay, it looks like Auntie Sue is making a little extra buck, I might can get some extra ice cream this weekend. That kind of thing, Chris?
Yeah, well, what I'd want to jump in to say, we don't encourage loaning the cards to the family members, but we say if you have that person within your household who you trust that much, add the person to the account. And so they will have access to the account in the event you can't make it to get the transaction done. Because once you give permission to these persons to do transactions, then they may, as Javon say, do different transactions that are unauthorized, and then these are going to be deemed as fraud, and then we have a whole other issue to deal with. So we don't encourage it. We say to our customers, add these persons to your account if it is that you're this close with that person, to make sure that they have ease of access in the event of unforeseen activities.
Okay, and then just in case anything goes wrong, that's not supposed to happen, then you're in a better position to track the information and to track the spend.
Absolutely.
Stacey, you mentioned that you've been seeing a few of these cases and a few of these instances. Can you share a few of these stories with us?
We definitely can. So there's a customer who actually reported seeing many unauthorized deductions, and we're talking about online debits, transfers, withdrawals at ATMs. And we did our investigation, and it actually pointed to someone within the circle, which unfortunately was someone in her home, her daughter. And of course, she was very adamant, it's not nobody in my house would do that. And, her daughter came to us separately to say, hey, I know you guys have found out that I'm the one doing it. I will settle it on my own, just cancel it now. So you are trusting, but you can't be too careful. So keep your information to yourself. As Chris said, if you need to have anyone added as, an alternative or a backup, do so.
Yes. And what about those instances where you're in a rush and you accidentally leave your card in the ATM? Accidentally. I'm rushing. I mean, that happens as well?
It does. And to be very honest, it's just best that you take your time. The outcome in the long run, it's not worth it. So take your time, be aware, make sure when you take your cash out, you also take your card with you. Don't leave it there, because you may leave, and if you leave with leave it with other information that's there. You may give an opportunity to get access to your hard-earned funds.
And you've seen cases of this as well?
Multiple cases, unfortunately. You know, we carry our children in the ATM, we're on the phone in the ATM, and we're not mindful and pay attention to what we're doing.
Okay, so Chris, how do persons protect their cards?
Make sure at all times the card is in your sight, is in your custody. And if it is that, I've always had a school of thought, personally, if I go to do business and I'm uncomfortable to do business at this establishment, I'm not going to complete the transaction personally. I don't want my card to leave my sight. So just make sure the card is in sight at all times. Make sure that the merchants ask the right questions. You have merchants who go ahead and tap your card. You don't want your card to be tapped. Merchants who go ahead and swipe the card when you want it to be tapped. Make sure that you're having conversation with the merchants so you're on top of the transactions at all times. It's one of the easiest way for your card to be defrauded, to be skimmed once you lose sight or you get distracted at the merchant. So make sure it is in your sight at all times. And the household fraud that Warren spoke about, we have seen a lot of it within the branch, especially within branches, especially where minors are concerned. The purchase of games and that type of thing. As a result, a lot of
apps.
Yes, a lot of.
Kids want all these new
Yes.
apps. As a new one, as a new upgrade or game come out, they just want to tap, click, okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've seen adults cry in the branch. In my branch, because after an investigation is completed, it is obvious, it's clear that the purchase was done in home internally and it was done by their children and there's no recourse. And so we're saying make sure that you're in possession of your cards at all times. And that's the best message I could leave with our viewers today.
Always in possession of your cards and don't share your PIN.
Never, never. The acceptance of assistance from people in an ATM machine is also a point I want to make. I find it odd. You have the ATM machine is not close to a branch, so it's an offset machine in our term, in our world. It's not during business hours, but persons are offering assistance and you're accepting it. Why?
Chris, I will say, right? I'm just saying, like sometimes when people go to these ATMs, they're gonna say, but this person look like it might take a little long time, because you have those people who go in the ATM, and when they go in there, they take a while, right? So that's the point in time that persons might say, hey, they see it as an opportunity, especially during those times.
Yes. What we have done at Scotiabank during banking hours, most branches would have employed additional resources just to help customers to complete transactions within the ATM machines or within branch online, just to make sure that you're getting the advice that you need from a Scotiabank agent. So we encourage our customers, make sure that you're getting the advice from a Scotiabank agent and just not from anybody and everybody.
Okay, and what about these point-of-sales machines? Because you touched on them.
Yes.
In terms of, not letting your card get out of sight and the right questions. But what is it really like? Is it a gut feeling that if I just feel like, okay, I'm not supposed to use the card here? What's that red flag that I should look out for, if any at all?
Well, most times it's a gut feeling, to be honest. Most times a gut feeling. As I said before, you're visiting a business establishment and you get a gut feeling that I really shouldn't be doing this transaction here. You feel uncomfortable. Go with it. Your grandma is not wrong. She said if you go follow your gut feeling, you will not be wrong. So go with that gut feeling. If it is that you feel that something is wrong. And I mean, there are other merchants, there are other places that you can do business. Maybe it's the time of day that makes you uncomfortable. So you could do the transaction at another time. But if it is that you're uncomfortable, we're saying to our customers, do not complete the transaction.
Don't do it.
Yes.
Just keep it pushing, move it right along.
Yes.
We can find somewhere else.
Yes.
What happens though if I feel that I've been a victim of an online scam? What should I do? I'm going to give this one to Javon.
Well, if you think you're a victim of any scam or any type of fraud, the very first thing is don't be embarrassed about it. Don't hide it. It can happen to anyone, and these fraudsters, these scammers, make it their duty to be good at what they do. So you've said it quite a few times, opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. So I'm glad that you're actually using the term, because that is part of the fraud triangle. reduce the opportunity. And part of reducing the opportunity is sharing your experience so that we can learn from it and improve on it. So don't be afraid to share, notify your bank right away, escalate it to the police if it is at that level. And when you do escalate to the police, don't be afraid to work with them. The police have had great successes in dealing with instances of fraud, but only if the victim is cooperative. They can't do much without the victim's cooperation.
Javon, do you find that persons are afraid to cooperate during this time? I don't know if you or Warren want to
Well, I'll start.
Okay, you can.
People are afraid to cooperate, but I think it's really cultural and ignorance, just not knowing.
Okay.
So sessions like these are meant to empower, to give them knowledge so they can know that there is help, there is a means for recourse. Cooperate with it. Most people are uncomfortable with what they don't understand. So we are here to help them understand and guide them on that process.
Okay. I see Warren,
Right.
Warren wants to help us out here.
Right. So in addition, we just want to reassure viewers that there is a digital footprint to everything that is done online, to include transactions. So persons may unscrupulously or fraudulently, unauthorizedly access accounts and withdraw funds. We're happy for the police, as Javon says, who will provide that support from investigative perspective. You have the electronic fraud. They have an electronic fraud unit, and of course the fraud unit. Just about, if you become a victim, just about any police station should accept that report. But if persons feel a little bit more comfortable, then they can visit the fraud squad or the electronic fraud. But just to say it again, there is a digital footprint, and persons may think they can do things online and get away. May take a while sometimes, but the perpetrators will get caught at some point.
Okay. And I mean, after we have contacted our financial institution, possibly even reported it to the police, what else can I do? Because, I mean, your accounts would have been on hold by this time.
Right.
Okay. What else can I do?
So it helps if you have documentation, anything else that can assist the police or the bank in the terms of the investigation, dates, figures, your history, where you have been. So things like those notifications that you might get on your phone or via the app, your banking history via your statement, all of those things, a receipt, a physical receipt that you'd have gotten from a merchant, all of those things assist. And it gives some amount of context and proof on your side to build a stronger case.
Okay. When I found out, or if it is that I found out that my account has been compromised, would you recommend that I change my password at that time?
Well, certainly. I mean, we encourage you to make contact with your financial institution.
Okay.
And the moment you make contact with us, one of the first things that we're going to be doing is blocking the card if it is online via the phone. And we encourage you to come in branch. And once you come in branch, we are going to encourage you to change your email address. We're going to change your card, and we're just going possibly even your address or phone number could have been tampered with. So we've reviewed the customer's entire profile to make sure that the right information is there and that we can mitigate this from happening again.
Okay. Do you recommend that I change my password constantly, like every 3 months? Well, not 3, but maybe even every 6 months, because I mentioned before, you know, with all these special characters, sometimes I tend to forget them myself. So do you recommend that any at all, that over a period of time that I keep changing it just for my own safety? Warren?
That is good. Yes, it's good to practice that. And as you said, you may have difficulty in remembering these passwords, but we want to encourage you. Don't write it on a piece of paper and stick it that everybody can see it. Or, we tend to keep a lot of this information in our phones too. Our phones is our electronic diary now. But what happens if you lose your phone? Everything goes. So we have to be careful, and that's the importance of changing it, such that if, for some reason, someone got a hold of your mobile or your password that you stick somewhere, then you would have changed it last week. So this week, you know, they would have been very difficult. I just want to reiterate and reassure the public, and I use a term again, do not trust but always verify. And it's important, you know, when you get emails or stuff like that, you know, saying you have to change your username and password. Be careful when you get these texts. Call the institution and say, okay, I receive a text that I must update my username and password. Did you send me this text?
Yes.
That way, you ensure that you're not getting unscrupulous phishing texts and voice notes and get caught and become a victim.
And most of the times, you can possibly just reassure them that it wasn't sent from the institution.
Exactly.
Most of the times.
Exactly.
So Stacey, for persons who have been, you know, have their accounts compromised, why does the investigation process take so long? Why is it so uncomfortable?
That's the million.
Why am I going through this? I mean, I was a victim, and when I was told that I had to wait to get back my credit card, I was like, why do I have to do this? Why does it take so long, Stacey?
The truth of the matter is fraud is so intricate and it has so many partners. So yes, you the customer, the victim, and yes, the bank, but of course there's the merchant who was also defrauded in some way. There's the merchant's bank, and there's who we call the brand. So the brand would be either MasterCard or Visa. So the process takes a little while because we have to give each person or each partner the opportunity to do their own investigation and to refute the claims, if any, because not all reports are indeed fraudulent.
Yes.
So it is within the parameters set by the brand and the partners. So what we do at Scotiabank, however, is lean some more on making the process as easy for you, the customer. So we look at provisional credits, we look at keeping you updated throughout the process, right all the way until resolution.
Okay. And sometimes our cards get blocked. You know, what is the fastest way to fix this or to have it cleared?
Yeah. Well, you know, fraudsters, they work 24/7. They don't sleep, right?
Wow.
So Scotiabank has invested heavily in our own fraud strategy to mitigate against this fraud. And all of us on this panel are actually a part of that strategy.
Hey, okay.
So we rely heavily on real-time monitoring.
Okay.
So when you see your card blocked, it's something doesn't look right.
something
There's a
went
flag
wrong.
somewhere. There's a pattern that's not matching.
Okay.
And so in order to prevent either further loss or either more inconvenience to you, we'll temporarily block it and give you the opportunity to either dial into us if we can't get you directly. And so you can confirm yes or no, this is me, and then you can happily move along and do your transaction.
Okay.
So the easiest thing to do is once you are blocked, call us immediately.
Immediately.
Or if you're doing something outside of your pattern, let us know before.
Okay.
I was about to say that.
Okay. So for example,
Yes.
if I want to take a weekend trip to Miami and I know that I'm going to be using my credit card or
Let us
even my
know.
debit card, I should alert you. I should
us
let you
know.
know what's happening.
Let us know.
Okay.
And once you have advised us, we'll be prepared and be anticipating that transaction will be done outside the country. And so there'll be no need to block the card.
Okay, because it would possibly be within my pattern that I have informed you that I'm going to add to what I've been doing.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Stacey, sometimes we can identify that there has been a fraudulent transaction on our account, but we see that the money has not yet been removed. Can the bank stop the transaction before it is claimed?
So unfortunately, no. As I mentioned before, there is an agreement between us, the merchants, and the brand. And so once there's an authorization, we have to allow the brand to be able to investigate on their own as well and, advise us, yes or no, was this a fraudulent transaction? So the good news is that we can stop future authorizations, but once they have gone through, we have to let due process reign and we have to investigate fully.
Okay, and that's why real-time monitoring is so important.
Exactly. And setting up your alerts.
And setting up those alerts, which will not only help me, the customer, but also help you, the financial institution. So I know we have some additional security pointers that we want to touch on. How else would Scotia or Scotiabank help, to protect customers and their money? Let me start with Javan with this one.
What else? we have the real-time monitoring.
You have the
we
real-time
have
monitoring.
the education. We have that friendly customer service front point. We say to you, let us know.
Okay.
Be forthwith. Be very straightforward. Let us know what's happening. Don't be afraid. It's really reiterating because most of the points are out there already. And learn and put into practice.
Okay, learn and put into practice. All right, so I know that we have a few questions coming in from our online viewers. So let's see, what have we been asking so far? Okay, the first question comes from Stephen Roberts from Zoom. How do you memorize so many passwords? That's a good question, you know, Stephen. I want to know too. Who is going to take that one? Warren, are you going to take that one?
So as we said earlier, we know it's difficult for you to memorize so much password, and we do discourage you also not to get on a website that generates password because those sites have been hacked.
Okay.
So we have to be careful. As we said, and we want to reiterate again, that you can use, make it long, make it strong, uppercase, lowercase, all of that. We say do not use the same password all the time, but we're saying it's easy. I use a phrase to open all my devices, and I use a variation to the phrase.
Okay.
But I alone remember that phrase. So as we said, I wake up early. For one, you may use the other, I wake up early every morning. So those things are easy for you to remember. So it's quite good that you do that and don't have to be worried about memorizing a lot of passwords. Because we know you're a human, you're not a computer, and it's going to be difficult for you to keep saying.
Okay, so even for example, you want to use the word patois. Some persons would spell it P-A-T-W-A.
Like or something like that, yeah.
Yeah, P-A-T-W-H.
Right.
You know, okay,
Right.
all right.
Exactly.
So I think we have some more questions coming in. So this one is from @Tevin. When will we start getting alerts for when money is received in your account?
Well, Scotiabank, at Scotiabank, we continue to invest daily in our technology. It's very important to us. As it is now, we are offering alerts for daily balances and weekly, monthly. You can set the different intervals that you choose. It is something that we are looking into because we see the value in it. So we are saying, be patient with us. We're getting there. As it is now, we believe the daily, weekly, and monthly alert will help you significantly to be on top of the balances that are on your account.
Awesome. All right, we have some more questions. Antoinette Edwards from Zoom asks, how secure is the tap and go feature on the card? Warren? I think Warren is the person for this question.
Well, I will attempt to answer it. So the tap and go is always a good layer of security because it uses a technology called near field, communication. It was designed for ease of movement in the sense that other than waiting to sign a receipt, you tap and you go. So once you utilize it, then of course you the customer will be able to save time, right? But I think the security is built in a sense that even if someone intercepts that near field communication, then it's encrypted. And it will be difficult for the person to decrypt it. So if it's not with the connecting machine, then it's not going to be easy to break that code.
I have to also possibly ask you though, Warren, with the tap and go, I love using the tap and go because I can cover the whole of my card in my hand. So they don't see anything. So you're not going to see my name, you're not going to see the number, you're not going to see anything. I tap, and it's like my palm that's tapping, and I go.
Right.
So that would also help in terms of securing my information as well.
Exactly. And we would recommend too that for a person who store these devices, to put it in what we call a protection because maybe use an RF wallet such that because it's radio frequency. And if someone gets near to your wallet, they can read the information and recreate it. So, you know, we want to encourage customers to practice keeping it in maybe a bag with an RF proof that shields it, that nobody comes near and read the card information.
Okay.
I would want to add, Talia, also that, I mean, the tap and go feature for our card is intended for very simple, quick transactions, maximum $5,000. And so it's a tolerable limit that it shouldn't cause great, if you have a transaction of a greater value, we expect you to spend more time and scrutinize and all of that. So it's capped at $5,000. So the exposure, we believe, is not a significant exposure. And so we expect you to manage that aspect of your card as well.
Okay, so we have more questions coming in. At I am Didon from Instagram says, how efficient is the bank in blocking a fraudulent transaction? Chris, you're going to take that one?
Yeah, well, it is dependent on the customer's transaction pattern. And so our constant monitoring could mean that the first may be successful, but subsequent transactions get blocked because we have now observed that there's something inconsistent here, and we need to, reach out to Talia to say, what's happening here? Is this your transaction? Are you good with this before we allow further transactions? So the first may, but subsequent, based on a consistent monitoring, I'm confident that we'll be blocking it.
Okay, and they did say that they have real-time monitoring happening, so I'm sure your accounts are in good hands. All right, more questions coming in. If my card or account has been compromised, will I get a new card?
I think we answered that before, yes. I mean, you get a new card free of cost at any branch of your choice.
Any branch of your choice.
So let me be clear, I mean, your account may be maintained at the Legally branch. You can visit the Constant Spring branch, Scotiabank Center, wherever is convenient to you to get a new card.
Okay.
Right?
All right, more questions. What should I do if I see a suspicious transaction? Stacey?
Report it immediately.
Immediately?
Immediately. Do not wait. So call the contact center. They're open 24/7. You have your bankers that are assigned to you. Reach out to your bankers. Just make sure that you either call us immediately, or even if you have access still to your online profile, put in those limits. Turn off your card. Try and help yourself in the interim.
I love that you touched on putting in limits. You can actually put in your, is it a what, daily limit? Is it just a limit for your card overall?
Transaction limit.
Just a transaction limit.
Yes.
So I can set if I don't want to allow more than $10,000.
Yes.
To be for this $10,000 transaction, nothing more than that. I can set that.
Yes. I don't want a notification for a transaction for anything under $5,000. For me, I could say I want notification for transaction over $1,000. So that's what I meant initially, that it can be customized to every single customer's need.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we have another question. Is there a form I should use when reporting fraud to my branch?
That's Stacey.
Stacey?
And I think we touched on it already.
So you can fill out a form, Stacey?
You can fill out a form. So the form is also on the website. The form is also in branch. But of course, you don't have to rely on the form. Once you call the contact center, the officers will take the dispute for you. Once you go on the website and complete the form there and send it into the email address that's there, then the officers will quickly complete the dispute for you.
Okay. I think we have another question coming in. Another question. How secure is tapping your card? Can it be disabled?
The tap feature?
Can the tap feature be disabled? I think that's the question, yes.
Yes, so you can ask for your tap aspect to be disabled.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So yes, your tap feature can be disabled, but you have to request it.
Yes.
In branch. All right. So do we have any more questions coming in from my viewers? Oh, yes, we do. Let me see. All right. So okay. At Stephen McDonald says, is it safe to allow your phone to store your password?
That's on that Warren, eh?
Yeah, we just answered that, and as we say, like any other digital gadget, and listen, Jamaicans are not dumb people. We have a lot of brilliant people here who are learning the skill sets that if you even have a bio access, they can break it. So we wouldn't advise you to do that. Be careful of storing that information on your mobile, because if it becomes lost, then someone will have access
To
and
it.
know all your password and information. But what you can do is have multiple locations that you may store it, such that if you lose it, now we're talking about the cloud. I wouldn't advise you about the cloud, but if that's your choice, you
Okay.
can have an external hard drive, a thumb drive, something like that, that you can store all your digital data to include passwords.
Okay, and then just in case you can't access the app, I should contact
Right.
my bank immediately
Immediately.
as
Correct,
well.
correct.
All right. So I think we have more questions coming in. Since I don't use my PIN when I tap, am I more vulnerable? Who is it? Chris, you're going to take that one?
Yeah, I think I touched on it before to say that, I mean, it's capped at a $5,000 limit, where it's a small transaction meant for quick, easy, on-the-go transaction. I mean, personally, whenever I go to a merchant, I request that my card be, I put in my PIN and not necessarily the tap aspect, because I don't like to be in a hurry to do a transaction. I want to see what the transaction is all about, because it's one of the quickest way to be defrauded. So I'd rather stay, put in my PIN and all of that, just to make sure that I'm comfortable with the transaction. So that's what I'll say. It's $5,000 maximum. So I mean, it's a tolerable limit that we allow on the transaction.
But just to add to that is that remember that the tap on go, it was just designed, for easy and quick way. It's just an option. So, if that's not your choice, then you can always insert and put your PIN.
Okay.
Right. So it's available to you as a customer.
Yes.
You may be running quickly and I can't bother putting my PIN. Just tap it and give it to me and move on. Right.
Okay. I know we touched on this a little bit earlier, where based on your pattern and based on the system that you have where you monitor accounts in real time, if it is that I am traveling overseas or outside of the jurisdiction, it's important for me to alert my bank and to tell you, hey, I will be going to X place.
Yes.
Do I have to tell you the length of time? Do I have to tell you where exactly I'll be going? Suppose I'll be going to more than one places, I mean, that's a question that came in.
Yes.
I want you to possibly just elaborate a little bit more. So do I have to advise my bank when I'm traveling internationally with my card? Just elaborate a little bit more about it, and what kind of information would you guys require me to share with you?
So I'll start and I'll give it to Stacey after. I mean, most of our customers have relationship banking officers within the branches. And the expectation is that you're going to maintain a very close relationship with your relationship bankers. And so he or she should know, or you'd want to share this information once you're going to be out of country for an extended period and where you're going to be. And so this information would be useful information. So you shouldn't have any difficulty in identifying or locating your officer to say, hey, this is my duration of stay, I'm going to Mexico, I'm going to be on vacation, what have you, and perhaps have your officer take care of personal things that you need to be taken care of whilst you're away. That's also another school of thought. It is important that you tell us specifically where you're going to be, the length of stay, because that is key information in terms of the fraud monitoring team will want to know. Because what we have seen is persons who go overseas, and when they're back, transactions continue to be done on their cards when they're overseas.
Oh, wow.
So you see the problem there. So we want to know that, okay, fine, our customer is back, we can turn off the international access feature of the card, so the card, whoever is planning to defraud you internationally,
Wherever
they are, can't anymore. Right? So it's very, very important that you share this information with your bank. And if it is that you don't have a relationship banking officer, your branch is there, the contact center is there, there's lots of ways that you can get this information into to us, your bankers. We want to treat your bankers as your doctors. You share private and confidential information with your doctors. That's how we want you to see bankers, because it's your financial health.
Yeah.
You're giving us a lot of information.
Peace of mind.
Yes.
That peace of mind.
Yes. So once you do that, you'll be fine.
Will be fine.
Scotiabank has been around for a long time, over 130 years. And so you have trusted, customers have trusted us with a lot of information for a long time. And I see us being here for more than another 130 years.
Indeed. Indeed.
Another generation.
I
so
know.
just supporting Chris. So there's a balance between convenience and safety. So yes, we encourage you to give us, the duration, the location,
Okay.
so that when we put in certain strategies, when you do return, it's not affecting you. So
Okay.
again, you have to be mindful of how do I make sure that I'm not embarrassed while I'm swiping here or there.
Yes.
So make sure that
And
you tell us
you
the
get a
complete
big
details.
decline. You don't want that. Not at all.
And just to add a technical perspective to it is that persons should know that the internet has no borders. It's unregulated. So it means that if you travel abroad, of course, and come back to Jamaica, it's easy for someone from somewhere else in the globe to access your account because you are in that space, your information has been captured. They can now reach you wherever you are and swindle your account and do whatever they have. So we must be aware of that. And that is why we say you have to be vigilant,
Yes.
constantly checking and ensuring that you give information to business where you're going and what you're doing, and ensure that all your security is up and running.
Oh, all your security is up and running. Well, I think I just received final remarks from Chris, from Stacy, from Warren. Jovan, you have any final remarks before we go?
Well, from my aspect, generally when it comes to me, it's a little bit too late. So in order for me to not have as much a volume, I would say learn, reduce the opportunity, know how to detect, how to prevent,
Okay.
and how to respond based on some of the tips we've shared today.
Oh, we're going to close on that note, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us. Lots of information shared, and I'm talking valuable information. If you do have any additional questions, queries, if you need a little bit more insight on anything that we touched on, please feel free to send us a direct message to our Instagram page at Scotia Bank Jam, and I'm sure that someone will be there to assist you as quickly as possible. So thank you so much to my panelists as well. It was a pleasure having you here. I learned a lot. I'm sure my viewers learned a lot as well. So thank you so very much. They're the experts here with us this evening, ladies and gentlemen. But until next time, thank you so much for choosing Scotiabank. My name is Talia Suarez. See you soon.